I'm Louise Giulio. I'm the Chief Client Officer at Advertising Week and have known Mac, Beth, and team for a long time and really excited to be here with SalientMG and Infillion. So to start, I will pass to this amazing panel of female leaders to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Lainey Furtick. I'm President of Insights at iHeartMedia.
Hi, everybody. Are we going to get into some trouble this morning with our one man that's here?
I
like
we have
it.
our
We
one
have
man
a
in the
few.
front row.
We got a man in the front row. I love it. Hi, Jamie Good. Two in the front row. Like
That's right.
Like it. Brave men. Jamie Goodfriend. I'm so happy to be here. I run a company called Creator Vision, and I write for Forbes. I cover the creator economy, the tech side of the creator economy, and this is off the record. Don't worry.
Gina Cavallo, Chief Revenue Officer at Explain AI.
Shazia Khan, I'm with Havas Health, and I'm the CMO, and I head up global talent.
Awesome. Thank you all, and thank you for joining us. So we're here today to talk about a bunch of things, but leadership and influence. I'm sure AI will come up, so stay tuned. But to start, we were talking right before we came up here of, generationally how leadership has changed, influence has changed as we look over even, the last couple of years. But so to start, my question is for all of you. When you hear the word leadership today, David Ogilvy's birthday, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And do you think the answer has changed over the course of your career or even over the course of the last 12 months, maybe? Lainey?
Oh, yeah. When I used to think of leadership, it was very much an idea of being in charge, right? Running the show. And, it's a great responsibility. We all know that. But I think it's a different kind of responsibility now. It used to be that you came in and you could lead by virtue of being tagged as the leader. And that was probably an easier time in some regards.
Yeah.
But today you're leading people who have different viewpoints and different ideas about work and what it means and how it fits into your life, and different expectations. I think that leadership in a lot of ways has been necessarily humanized, right? You are dealing with humans and personality. I work in media, right? I did talent management in the early part of my career. I would sit with a Ryan Seacrest or a Colin Cowherd or a Sean Hannity or a Charlemagne the God and talk to them about, here's who your consumer is, here's what they think, right? It was managing egos, and leadership is so much of that now. I think the next generation we were talking about has a lot to teach us as well, about what work looks like, what life looks like, how those things fit together. But it also, for me, has transformed into, oh gosh, leadership is a lot more managing talent at every level.
Jamie?
Yeah, I started working in the 80s. I own it. Gen X here. And so leadership then was conformity. Mm-hmm. But as life went on, I think it became about sort of managing people's psychology, and people bring, when we went through that whole thing of like, bring your whole self to work. Well, you bring your whole self to work, you bring all the shit that you have in your day-to-day life and your family and all that stuff. And so I actually found this great book called Talking to Crazy, and it was written
I think I need this.
by a psychiatrist who deals with mental illness and schizophrenia, and he had this epiphany that people don't have the training to deal with all the psychological crap that you have to deal with. And once I realized that it was as much about you have to play to the player, and it didn't matter what I thought about leadership, it mattered about what somebody else was dealing with. And that's how I started to approach it. And it was a lot more work, but it was much more effective. So it was much more of a individualized approach, and really recognizing that, most of the time at work, people are dealing with the stuff that they're dealing with at home or their families or whatever childhood trauma they came with. And that has been the last 2 decades is really what we're dealing with. It's not just employees. It's that whole person, good and bad.
Yeah, just because you walk in the door of work doesn't mean it all goes away. Sometimes it's probably even worse.
Yeah.
Gina?
I mean, I do think that the principles that were then are still now of just being a good human. So I don't think that should have changed. So being an empathetic, kind person, that should just be the bar when it comes to being a leader. The things that you mentioned in terms of the individuality, I definitely, I had 13 people. I always said I was the CBO, chief babysitter of my last company, because I managed a bigger team, a lot of personalities. One thing on top of just psychology that I think I became actually even more educated is actually neurodivergence. So understanding that I have a lot of salespeople, some of them are actually dyslexic, which is a superpower, but they need to be managed differently. And I think that was something that was a huge learning lesson for me, to understand that side of an individual and understand, to be sensitive to what they need to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, I'm going to echo a lot of what
Yeah.
was already said, because I think it's gone from just being an authority figure to somebody that now people want to see reflected in you what a good leader looks like. And if you're not mirroring that, you're not going to get that buy-in, I think, from your teams.
Right.
And it's really important. They'll hold you accountable much more today than I think 10 years ago, or even even 5 years ago in many ways, and call you on it.
Yeah.
And really call you on it.
And actually, I'm going to stay with you, but it's a good transition. We were talking right before we came out. You have an interesting career path, very similar to Lainey's, which we'll get to, but you've been at Havas for 22 years, which is amazing. What do you think, I mean, as we stick to the idea of leadership, how has, being there, experiencing all many iterations of leadership, tell us a little about that. And, now you're the CMO, so you really kind of went through it all.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I've had one boss in those 20
Oh my gosh, that's
years.
amazing.
More or less, like one boss in the... Laurel knows her very well. And I'll say the core is definitely empathy, right? So
Yep.
that you definitely need. I think you cannot be a great leader without empathy, strong EQ. I think that's important, but it's more how I've seen so many different generations now almost, and just how people are showing up in the workforce, and understanding and realizing there is no one cookie cutter way to really manage and lead, and
Yeah.
understanding that everybody is looking for something different, and how you think it should be is not necessarily how they want it to be. I think it's also just about responsibility. You're now I'm at a point now 22 years later where I feel my job is to almost enable the next generation. And that becomes more important part of what I do as a leader, is who are those people that are working on my team that that need either more direction, or how can I help them get to where they want to get to. So it becomes almost like a coach in some ways.
Right.
Where you're gently kind of pushing people sometimes out of their comfort zone. And I think that's one of the reasons I've stayed at Havas for 22 years. I've had a boss that honestly has kind of pushed me into directions that I didn't even think I wanted to go into. But then it was like, oh my God, that actually makes
Yeah.
sense. And I understand why you wanted me to do this. And
I'm
yeah.
sure you're doing that for your team also.
You have to pass it on,
Yeah.
right? You have to pass it on, so.
And we also were talking, agencies can be a bit chaotic, and it's a lot.
A little.
And, yeah, go, 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 go. What do you think that you're our agency rep up here, if you
Yeah.
will? What do you think, the whole industry or everyone across the board can learn from kind of the agency lifestyle and agency leadership style?
So the one thing is that there has to be boundaries. And I think when I started in the workforce, there were zero boundaries. You worked 24/7. Your boss told you to kind of stay and get this done. You worked on the weekend. You worked till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. No questions asked. And that's just how it was. Now and I'm learning from this generation, and I have a 22 and a 25-year-old, so I also learn from them, where it's no, I have this appointment,
Yep.
and this is an important appointment for me. If you're throwing something on my plate last minute, boss, it may not get done, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm mortified, I can't believe you But
I agree. It
it's-
took, I'm sure it's for you too, I'm sure, and probably all of us, but it took me a while to get there.
Yeah.
And a hard time
Not
to kind of
easy.
separate, the work and life, because we're in a world where everything becomes so blended.
Yeah.
But it's very freeing, and it is great advice to be able to say, no, wait, I need to take care of myself. And it's okay if, this RFP isn't filled in an hour.
Yeah.
Like it'll still be there.
Well, I interviewed somebody a couple of months ago, and she actually said during the interview, she was like, "Oh, every Tuesdays I need to leave at 6 o'clock because I have a therapy appointment." And I was like, "Okay."
She said that in the interview.
Did you know you were allowed to say that?
Yeah, good for her.
I was like, "Okay." Like, what do you say? Like, I'm like, "Okay."
Right?
Like,
Yeah. It's amazing.
Did she get the job?
we're still interviewing.
Oh, it's a spoiler alert.
That's a good tease. All right, Gina, I'm going to pass to you a little bit. You also have some agency experience. You built your career across agencies, startup, large-scale data and tech. You have a very unique view, I'd imagine, of the industry from being kind of, having so many different seats and seeing it up close. From a leadership perspective, what is one thing you think that right now we need to be paying closer attention to? And is there something that we're overlooking?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, speaking of Ogilvy, I started my career there, so.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. Thanks,
yes.
Mac.
Thank you for that bit. I think like we mentioned before, paying attention to the individual is really important. I would call my team this like special snowflakes because
Oh, I love that.
you need to understand exactly who they are, what motivates them. So for me, I knew everything that was. I had 13 or 15 people at Audigent before I left, and I knew what was going on in their lives. Not because they wanted to tell me everything. Sometimes they told me too much. I was like, I do not need to know about that date. Please don't call me to tell me about that date you went on. But I understood who they were as people. I understood what was going on. I still get phone calls. I'm still checking in on some of them. I've got one of them in LA that has a mom who's in chemotherapy, and I still care.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're my people, and there are people that left other really great companies to come follow me, and I take that as such a responsibility. If I have to put someone on a PIP or they have to let them go, it is also a horrible day for
Yes.
me because I failed them too. So I really think like it's about you really need to understand that individual and everything that makes them motivated to make sure you get the best out of them. But that takes investment, and
Yes.
that takes making time for them. So that's always been my leadership approach. In fact, I just met with new company, new team. My CEO is like, I see what you're doing. You spent the last 5 months really getting their trust, right? Like you've earned and invested in them. Because then I know, because the hardest thing a leader can do is get followership. That is the hardest, I think, in my opinion, the pinnacle is to get someone to walk through fire for you. And that's what I try to do in an authentic way, of course. But I spend that time investing in them as well.
And I think, this is missed a lot, but that also, I think obviously amongst us it's not, which I think is very rare and we're lucky. But that reflects the bottom line. The minute they trust you and you build these teams, that's it.
I had a recruiter say to me, "How did you get so and so to stay for 4 years?" Because he did not like someone at the company, and he's like, and he said, "Oh, it's because of you." And that was one of the best compliments I ever got because
that's amazing.
That's what you want. You want people that are like, "Oh, I know this is tough right now, but I'm gonna keep pushing it through because I trust my boss or I like working for X."
And you mentioned Audigent and Little. You were there and you've led them through the acquisition by Experian.
Yeah.
No small feat. So congratulations. What did that experience and working through uncertainty and transformation, teach you? And do you have any advice for people that might be leading teams who are doing the same?
I mean, it taught me that I should have slept for a month after. Still tired. It's hard. It's really hard. You're dealing with different leadership. You're dealing with going from a very small company to a billion-dollar business that has different culture and different changing leaders. Your job is to be a shield, as you know, right? But you have to balance that with honesty because people can smell bullshit a mile away. And
also,
right?
How do you create that clarity without being full shit?
Yeah, it's like you have to toe the company line, but you don't want to lie to your people because it's still their lives too. So it's hard. I don't know. I tried to be as transparent with my team during the acquisition because I didn't really know a lot as well. So you do your best to just be honest with them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's valuable when you have the honest leader and they're also telling you the truth. I think your career speaks to it. You've already said, people come with you, and that shows through how your leadership is. So.
Thank you.
Jamie, hi. You've also held leadership roles across some of the biggest organizations in the world, from Microsoft to Expedia to Hasbro, WPP, CAA, Whaler. Looking back, what is something, and you've talked a little bit about this, but I'd love to hear more, that you did, initially you had one idea of how work would be, leadership, influence. How has that completely changed as of today?
I'll take a different tact. I'm going to talk about high performers.
Perfect.
And high performers are like Ferraris, and you think they can just run on their own, and you need high performers, right? That's the goal. The better your people are, the better the company does. But high performers cannot stand low performers. And if the boss, it's like a cognitive dissonance. If the high performers see the low performers getting away with stuff, it demotivates them and it brings the entire organization down. Now, you can't have all like super chickens. There's like a famous experiment where they put all these super chickens together, like the best chickens of all these flocks, and everyone died. So you have to have a balance. They did, all the chickens died. So you have to have a balance, but you have to have a real, as you were saying, being honest. And not everybody has to be the A++ performer, but how you navigate that and manage it, because it's so demotivating for someone who really cares. And typically in most larger organizations, and I've worked in some very large organizations, you kind of feel like a cog. And the high performers get very unhappy when they see sort of this systematic homogenization of talent.
Yeah.
So finding ways to keep them motivated and recognize that you see the same reality of what they're going through was something that I learned to do the hard way. And but it was, it's almost like when you have a favorite child, because you always do, and you have to pretend. I'm sorry, it's comedy hour here at 10 o'clock.
That's what I tell my parents.
it.
I was like, you don't have to tell me I'm your favorite. I know.
But you know.
Yeah.
So the favorite knows. If you don't know, you're not the favorite.
Right.
It's true.
That's right. And it's the same thing with employees and partners. And I also agree that if they trust you, then they'll go anywhere with you. And I have had great good fortune of people coming with me, but I try to take care of everybody, but really focusing on the high performers, saying, I can't help if this person is a solid B, but I know you're an A++.
It's amazing. And good recognition, because I agree. I think nothing is more demotivating than when you're busting your ass or you see someone, you even watch it happen, and it's tough. As you build Creator Vision, and you mentioned writing for Forbes, how has kind of your career influenced what you're doing today?
Well, as I say, I didn't realize for a long time that I was not an inside cat and that I embraced I'm really an outside cat. And I stayed corporate for a really long time because that's just what you did. Yeah. But now that I can't get fired, I feel unleashed. And I could never talk like this on a panel before. It's great. And I'm really have a strong point of view. And I don't play small for anybody anymore, and that was a real gift as a woman. Again, I'm in a different generation, but you had to play small. You had to really worry about, it was mostly men. Sorry, I love men, but small men, small-minded men. And I didn't handle it well all the time, and I couldn't understand it. So now that I'm my own boss, and so I can't fire myself.
Well, we only just met, but I love this outside cat version of you.
I want to come work for you. I want to come to LA. I'm coming to LA to work for you.
I want to work. I was going to say, I wish you'd been my boss back in the day. It would have been much more fun. But it's made things a lot easier. But I also think being able to have a strong point of view in business, and what I say to clients, so in building my company, I consult with clients, and as I say, I try to help them not do stupid shit when it comes to creator, like moving their money into the creator space.
Yeah.
And I say to clients, look, this is how I work. You're hiring me not because I'm your friend, but I'm going to tell it to you straight, and I'll go 3 rounds with you. And if at 3 rounds you don't agree with me, we'll do it your way. I'm probably going to be right, but I'll do it your way. And a lot of people don't want to work that way, and so I've learned to sort of eliminate people that I'm not going to vibe with, because I'm too old to not tell somebody that's a stupid idea. I don't say it that way, but
yeah, but it's tough.
I might think it.
Yeah. Well, there's no real transition, but Lainey.
I am transitionless. All right, I'll take it.
Interesting enough, you've been at iHeart for 22 years also, which we just learned. So we have some real loyal and strong folks up here, which I love as someone who's been at the same job forever. You've built your career and you talked a little bit about this, of really understanding people and behaviors, motivations, and how that affects decision making. What do you think leaders will get wrong when they kind of try to understand and not really go for it, and maybe don't look at the data or the insights and assume, if you will?
And
you
by
know
the
what
way, I
happens
wish
when
I
you
always
assume.
looked at my data and insights. I literally have Post-its that are like, pay attention to this insight, Lainey. Take your own advice, right? Because it's so easy to look from the outside in at what the data tells us we should do, but then there's the doing of it, right? That's a little different. And what's interesting about being in research is that you're essentially in customer service, right? Because you're providing these insights to different individuals, people who run our app, to artists and labels, to program directors, to air talent, and you can't get away from the customer service piece of this. And as you might imagine, the Venn diagram of people who are freaking amazing at data and numbers and analytics and people who have perfect customer service skills is not really like concentric circles exactly. And so, we have a rule, and everyone on my research teams can tell you what's rule number one. Rule number one is it's not about you, right? As a leader, if someone's being shitty to you, if people are being shitty to each other, you tend to assume they're doing it at you and that it's somehow about you. And I feel like the pandemic brought a lot of that out into the limelight, right? So I have a leader, she's brilliant, and she's very good at her job. But during the pandemic, she said, Lisa, our head of alternative programming, yelled at me about her call out, and she just went ballistic in this email and, about saying that I delivered it all wrong, and she was so mad about something being delivered a few hours late, and she was losing her shit over it. And I was like, Elizabeth, there is no way, absolutely no way that this is about you. So I picked up the phone and I called Lisa, the person that, started all this, and I'm like, hi, are you okay? And she immediately burst into tears. She's like, the twins' daycare is closed, and Garrett's on the road with Weezer, her husband, and I have no idea how I'm going to do any of the things, right? And of course, if you start from the viewpoint of whatever people are doing, however they're behaving, their big emotions, their big egos, their big attitudes, it's not really about you. It's about them, and it's about figuring out how to manage them through that. You're always in a better place, right? It's that you just got to take your own advice to follow that.
And as we think of, you said you wish you took your own advice with the research and the insights, but as we think of it, is there one piece of research maybe that you've seen recently or throughout any point in your career that's kind of fundamentally changed how you think of leadership or how you've gotten where you're at?
Oh, there are so many, but one of the things I was telling you about how this fall we presented a study called The Human Consumer, and it was how are humans responding to algorithmic media, AI? What does it mean to be human in 2026? Because, we like to ask non-weird, crazy, chaotic questions at iHeart. And so one of the things that we learned that I think we all know inherently is that humans are wired to do things that do not serve them. We will spend our time pursuing things and participating in things that actually don't make us feel great. And we looked at that through the lens of social media, right? People join social media in order to feel more connected, to, see people's baby pictures, kids in Halloween costumes, vacations, dinners. My word cloud from this study, when we asked about social, one of the largest words was dinner, and I'm like, why is the word dinner in the word cloud? It was because so many people said some version of, man, I miss just seeing posts about people's dinners. Did you ever think you would miss people's dinner posts? But now there's all this other algorithmic stuff. And what we learned is that people who spend a lot of time in the zombie scroll, and I think we've all been in the zombie scroll, they don't feel good when they get out of it. You open this app, right, to feel connected, and then 3 hours of, doom scrolling later, you don't feel good, you don't feel connected. And that idea that we will do things that don't serve us, that don't make us feel good for hours at a time, plays out all the time. You see it in the workplace. You've seen the data lately probably about how everyone wants to work from home. Hi, I love working from home. We all love working from home. You can literally see that data is telling us that it accounts for about 20% of the rise in, mental health challenges, in the literal unwellness of America. But we are wired to do things that aren't good for us. And so as a leader, it's sometimes your job to figure out the thing that is good for us and get everyone on board with doing it.
Yeah.
And they won't want to do it. But it's the right thing, it's good, and that's what you've got to do.
And again, just it makes your team happy and reflects your bottom line, and you're happy, and it's good all around. you've all built amazing teams and have been amazing leaders, and we've heard a lot about each of your stories. But what is one thing, and you mentioned you're in a hiring process and interviewing, what is one thing that you look for today in hiring a great candidate? This is a question for the group, that maybe wasn't on your checklist 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, and kind of sticks out today. Shazia.
Flexibility. I think adaptability. I think the world is changing so quickly, and I think for each of our industries is changing faster than it ever has, at least as long as I've been in the workforce. And if you don't have that mindset that what my job is today could change tomorrow, and you're probably not right for, I think, any type of workforce today. So I think there are some people that are not wired that way, so which is totally fine. But I think to really succeed today, you need somebody that's going to come in with the mindset that, this is my job today, but it could change tomorrow, and it could evolve even further, 3 weeks from now, and that's cool. And so embrace somebody that can really embrace change, I think, is key.
Yeah, I'm looking for non-complacency and people who actually get bored, because it's too easy today with automation, offshoring, AI to set it and forget it. And so if you're willing to just let your job keep rolling the way that it's rolling, I know we're not going to grow, right? And I don't have time to, institute all the change at my organization. So I need people who are going to be oriented toward not assuming that everything's okay running the way that it's always run.
We were just talking before. She was a D1 athlete, which I always used to look for as a softball player. So also good to have on your team as a ringer. And that was a proxy. That was always a proxy for a good employee. But I was just talking, this is last night at an event, and there were some executive recruiters there that were high end, and they said that they're looking for people who have built something with AI, have built, even just for their own uses, like an app, something that shows that they are embracing this new world. And it doesn't mean that all the other skills aren't important, but that is a new capability that somebody, especially if they're not young, if they have adapted and shown that they're willing to embrace this new world, which I thought was a really interesting perspective, because so many people are in mid-career sort of moments, and it's kind of what do I do? And they were saying when they talk to people, go build something, go try Lovable, go try one of these vibe coding apps, and just go build something. And that is a really good way to promote who you are and your capabilities.
Don't lose your student to a point, right?
Right. Yes, be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you were at an event with recruiters, they probably were drinking because of me, or probably twitching.
Is that why that champagne bottle just opened?
Yeah, there's a recruiter back there being like, oh God, I got to find her another AE. Because I ask for unicorns and I ask for the impossible. And that is because I know, especially in companies where you have to out-hustle people, and not everyone, you don't walk in the room and everyone just knows, right? I'm not Google. So you have to work really hard. You have to hustle. You have to have a really strong work ethic. That's why I love hiring athletes. But it's not always possible to get hustle, hard work, and kind, and cross-functionally kind. And I think that's why I drive everyone crazy, is I really want people that work hard, and I want people that respect and work well together. And that's not always easy to find, but when you do find it, it's magic. I have it now at Explain. I hired someone who's out 5 nights a week. I don't know how her husband hasn't left.
Oh my gosh!
But she is so kind.
And how's she surviving?
She's like, I'm taking someone with me to this meeting. Have a good time at Can. I'm taking care of the office.
Oh my gosh, amazing!
And that is what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my old bosses is here now, and he knows I was out all the time. He approved my expenses. He's probably still twitching about that. Sorry, Bill.
So that's why the champagne bottle.
Yeah. It's Bill Todd in the back. But it's true though. I look for those things, because that's how I was. I always respected my cross-functional teams, but I was out all the time hustling, and I still do it. I'm still out all the time setting the example. So I look for that.
Okay, so we have time for one more question. So I'll pass to you guys, but it'll be an either or. For a question, you can choose which question you want to answer. What are you most excited for the next 5 years across the industry, in leadership, across the board? Or what is one piece of advice you'd like to leave everyone with? Anybody want to jump in
I'll
first?
start.
Please.
I think I'll answer the advice question.
Great.
I think it's okay to be imperfect as a leader and show that it's okay. I don't think people are looking for perfection or necessarily all the answers. They just want honesty, transparency, and imperfections okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know that's such a good one because we learned a couple years ago we could remove vocal imperfections from podcasts and radio shows. Doesn't that sound amazing? Like you will get rid of the ums and the ahs. I tried every conceivable metric to say that this was a good idea because we wanted to do it. It made it faster and more efficient. What was wild was no matter how we measured, via neuro, via Nielsen meters, via dial testing, via digital listening analytics, the stuff that had the imperfections taken out was literally less connective. The consumer did not engage with it, right? And we are drawn to imperfection. In our research, we asked, what are the key traits of humans? I asked that question in 2024. Apparently, I've been weird for a very long time. And we got, we asked 2,000 people that, and we got 2,000 different responses. In 2025, when we asked that question, we got the same 9 responses from everyone. And one of them was imperfection and improvement, right? So, to build off of that, it's okay to be imperfect, right? Make your mistakes loudly, but be human, right? Be authentic, be real. That's going to be more important than ever.
It's so funny you said that because I was just going to say my favorite thing now is being able to say, I don't know. Yes. I don't know, and I can go and find out.
Yep.
And when I was younger, there was no way I would have said that. And now I feel so much, it's so appreciated when you are not a know-it-all. Like Satya Nadella said, be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. And his book is great, but I was really empowered by that. And saying I don't know says to somebody, I'm not going to bullshit you.
Yeah.
I actually think one of the things that people don't get right is that you can demand excellence and also be a good person. So when I've worked for so many different leaders, and when I see leaders that yell at their teams, that's not motivating. Nobody wants to be yelled at. No one's going to come back and feel good about themselves the next day and want to work for you after you've demoralized them. But you can still be a kind boss and also demand excellence at the same time. And they can, that actually I think when you are kind to them, they want to work harder for you, and that brings out the excellence.
Agreed.
So when I see these leaders demoralize and yell at people, I'm like, where did you learn that? I'm so sorry. When did that become okay?
Yeah, and are you okay?
Right? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Should you be putting a padded room somewhere?
Yeah.
We have a culture of saying when someone yells at someone now at iHeart, that you turn to the leader who's yelling and you say, are you okay?
Yeah,
and
right?
that is
You're
the
right.
immediate cheat code for you're being a dick.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. Yeah.
Or it's like a toddler. Do you need to go in the timeout room at
Yeah,
iHeart?
exactly.
Put a little soothing podcast on your head?
We're out of time. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Salient. Thank you, Infillion. Everybody have a great week.